welcome to the Chrissy B Show. Well, it's New Year's Eve and everyone is gearing up to celebrate tonight, but perhaps others are planning an early night because they think the new year will be no different. Which one are you? Are you looking forward to the new year or are you dreading it? Are you seeing the new year as an opportunity to set yourself fresh challenges, or are you not hopeful at all? My show tonight is going to get you excited, not about what you're going to do tonight, because let's face it, in a few hours, that's all going to be over, but it's going to gear you up for being successful in the new year. My guests tonight are Ian Locke, leadership development consultant and author of Being Extraordinary, and we'll be discussing how to make 2013 successful for yourself and also how to make a difference in other people's lives. And we also have Helen Sanderson, a professional declutterer and personal organizer, because there's no point in setting goals if you're not organized and all confused, right? So she'll be showing us how to declutter. And we also have personal development coach Chris Brown, who'll be joining us with his valuable tips as he does every week. And as it is Monday, I'll also be answering a What Would Chrissy Do query from a viewer. So if you'd like to get involved in this program, you can email me on chris@chrissybshow.tv, and you can also tweet at ChrissyBShow. So let's introduce our first guest. Let's not waste any more time, and that's Ian Locke. Good evening, Ian.
Good evening, Chris.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So tell us about what you do, first of all, Ian.
Well, I'm a leadership development consultant. So my work involves me traveling around the world, working with organizations and helping the individuals in those organizations be, I guess the best way to put it is, be the best leaders they can, but not in a way that is formulaic and has them follow a particular pattern, but really by getting in touch with what's really important to them, what they care about, and the difference that they want to make in the world. Okay,
what kind of companies have you worked with, are you allowed to say?
I can. Recently I've worked with organisations such as Boots, the Civil Service, Pizza Express and the London Business School, to name a few.
Right, great. Okay. And are they normally quite sort of excited about changing the way they lead people and stuff? Or they?
Not always initially.
No.
I mean, the people that
the
people that I've mentioned generally are, and I'm often called into organisations to talk about, we've got a problem with our people. We need to get them more excited and more engaged.
Right.
And often the conversation is actually, how are you leading them? How are you being an extraordinary leader that allows you to fully excite and engage the people in your organisations to do more, to be more, and to be more excited about what they do?
I mean, some people don't actually think they have what it takes, do they? Whether it to be a leader, whether it's to, because I know that probably there's some viewers watching now. Maybe you're at home actually because you don't really feel like going out, you feel a bit depressed, you're here watching the Chrissy B Show, not because, this just show's supposed to make you feel happy anyway, so that's why we bring guests on such as Ian to give some guidance. But maybe you are watching, you're thinking, you know what, next year's going to be the same old as this year, and I'm not really looking forward to anything, I'd rather just not think about it. But actually anyone can change their life, can't they, Ian?
Yeah, I think anyone can make a difference in their lives, and I think often when we're growing up, we're full of hope and ambition and dreams, and we have a future, and I think we often imagine things when we're young about the life that we could live. And some people want to be actors or film stars or astronauts or whatever, and I think when we're young we have these dreams.
Yeah. When
we get older and we get into life, the possibilities seem to shrink, and we seem to often get in a place where this is the life that I'm in. I can't change it. This is what's happened to me. And I really do believe that everybody and anybody can make their life extraordinary.
Is it, when you say, I mean, the possibilities seem to shrink, but they don't actually, do they? It's just maybe the way we see life and the way we see things?
I think we're often encouraged by the world around us to see things smaller. As you get older, you get a mortgage, you get responsibilities, you get stuff, and everything in your life says to you, just play it safe. You got a job, you're being paid, just hang on to that. And I think it's, we often get into a place where, well, if I could just survive until retirement, if I could just get my pension, then that would be all right. And my challenge is, what would it be like to make your life extraordinary? What if every day you could view your life as, I could make this what I want. I don't have to accept what I've got. What were my dreams? What did I want to be when I grew up?
Now you've actually written a book. What's the title of the book?
Title of the book is Being Extraordinary.
Okay, so it's going to be released.
It's going to be released on the 3rd of January.
Okay, and tell us about. Obviously, you're not going to tell us everything that's in there, but tell us about some of the stuff that you cover in the book. That will be good for people.
Well, I think initially a lot of the book is about people stopping, taking the time to think about, what do I really want? Who do I want to be? What are the things that I want to believe about myself that will really help me have an extraordinary life? And for the purposes of this show, an extraordinary 2013. And the book effectively helps people really get clear on who they are, who they aspire to be, and what they're already doing in their lives that they can be proud of.
Okay, can you give us and our viewers a few tips as well? Like, okay, so we're about to go into a new year. What can we do, say, for example, in the next week or two that can set us on the road to being this extraordinary person or leader?
I think firstly is to stop for a moment and think, what do you really want in your life? What are some of the things that you'd like to be different? What are you tolerating right now? Or what are you accepting as the way that your life is? And I think often when we talk about New Year's resolutions, people talk about, oh, I'd like to be fitter, I'd like to stop smoking or drinking, I'd like to be more financially secure. The push there is, why do you want those things? If you were fitter, if you stopped smoking or drinking, or if you were more financially secure, what would be possible in your life then? What could you do then in your life that would make a real difference? So I think the first step for people is actually stop and think about not just, oh, I'd like to be fitter, but why? Why would they? What difference would it make to you?
Because those things are kind of a bit cliche, aren't they? Because everyone kind of comes up with the same sort of resolutions.
And those four, I think, are in the top 5 New Year's resolutions that people make every year.
And probably break the fastest as well, some of them.
Well, I think the big question there is 2 or 3 weeks in, I think we often start negotiating with ourselves. Well, maybe just at the weekends. Or maybe I'll just, I'll do some exercise once a week, not 3 times a week. And by the time we get to Easter, I think we've either pretended we never made the resolutions and we're carrying on. We've almost got back into the life that we had before. So I think the first step, as I said, is get clear on what you want to look at, what you want to be different about your life. And then start to think about, well, what do I really care about? What's really important to me in my life right now that it makes it worth me going for this, it makes it worth me making a difference? And then take it a step further and say, okay, well, if that's what I care about, and I've already thought about what I want to be different, what am I going to make my purpose for the next 12 months? What am I going to wake up every morning and think, this is what I'm going to do? Not I'm going to get fitter, but actually this is the life that I'm creating for myself.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people do tend to make sort of very superficial resolutions because they think that's what most people do, that's what I should be doing. But there's people, for example, that maybe you're watching at home now, you're very unhappy, for example, in your job. Deep down, it's not really what you wanted to do. Maybe you studied something that you thought you were interested in. When you've now reached the end of the course, you realise, okay, it's actually not what I want to do. I have a passion for something else. Or you're with someone, you're in a relationship, and you know that relationship's not going anywhere. So like people tend to want to sort of change this time of year, and they want to start afresh. But then there's that fear there, okay, if I break this relationship off, for example, or if I give up this job and I go for what I really want to do, will it really work? And they're in that kind of limbo, they're not sure what to do. But I really believe that people know deep down what they really want. Yeah. But sometimes it's the fear that stops us from doing it. But then if you carry on like this for another year, that's when people start to get depressed and they realise that they're missing out. So I think it's like a great time. I mean, I think people can change any time. You don't have to wait till New Year's Eve or for a new year to change your life, to do something. You can start it, every day is a new day. But I think this is, if you want like sort of a good start, it's a great time to actually think about, okay, taking that step and not being afraid to go forward and change things. Because then you'll always be wondering, what if I'd done this? What if I'd really followed my dreams? What if I'd, had the courage to break this relationship off and, just be single for a while until I find the right person?
Well, I think often we get caught into, is this as good as it gets? Is the job I've got now as good as it gets? Is the relationship I'm in now the best one? What if I break this off and I never get anything else.
Okay. Ian, how about, sorry.
I was going to say, one of the things that I've noticed, I've worked with thousands of people over the years on their aspirations, on their hopes, their ambitions. And one thing that I think is common with everybody is they are all better than they think they are.
Wow.
Everybody I've ever worked with is much, much better than they believe they are. And my challenge to everybody is, not what if it all went wrong, but what if you did something different? What if you could make your life extraordinary? What if it was better? What if you did something better?
Now, we were speaking earlier in the green room, and you actually said something very interesting that I'm really believing as well. Like, being extraordinary or being special or different is not just for a select few. Anyone can be extraordinary. You were telling me that in the. Can you expand on that for our viewers?
Yeah, well, one of the questions I've been asked around the book is, well, who do you think? Who would you cite as being extraordinary? And I thought about this while I was writing the book, and actually, there are people on telly. There are people who do really impressive things. There are Olympians, sports people, and they're all obviously extraordinary. Yeah. I actually think everybody is extraordinary. I've yet to meet somebody. Yeah, I think everybody is.
Everyone's got the potential as well, but they just don't see it. They don't see how special they are.
Yeah, and I've talked to people. I had a great conversation with a guy a number of years ago, and I was asking him what he was proud of, in his life. And one of the things that he talked about, he sat there for ages and couldn't come up with anything that would make it on his list. Gosh. And I pushed him a bit further, and he said, well, there's one thing, I'm not really very proud of it. And I said, what is it? He said, well, I was on holiday last year with my family, and the guy in the restaurant on the table next to me started to choke. And he went blue, and he was obviously in serious distress. He said, I got up and went over and performed the Heimlich maneuver on him and dislodged the food in his throat and saved his life. And I said, and that's not on your list of things to be proud of? Why not? And he said, well, because I did it. If I did it, it's probably not that good.
Oh gosh, that's so sad.
And I think lots of us come from that. Well, if I can do it, it's not special. And I disagree entirely. If you can do it, it's special.
I think sometimes people think as well that if they actually acknowledge their strengths, it's like conceited in some way. But there's a difference between being sort of puffed up and all proud, and obviously being proud of your achievements. There's two different things, and I think sometimes people are afraid to acknowledge that there's so much good stuff about them. Because if you see an application form, guaranteed you're going to be able to write loads of weaknesses, and when it comes to the strengths part or the talents part, it's like, oh, what am I good at? Am I really good at that? Or maybe I shouldn't write that because I'm going to sound a bit like proud or whatever. But
and I don't think it's just British, but it is very British. Don't big yourself up. Don't make yourself look more than you are because somebody will come along and knock you down. We don't like people to be proud of themselves. And I guess we've all done stuff that we can be immensely proud of. And I know I have, and I guess you have too.
Definitely.
I'm going to ask you a question. What are you proud of, Chris? What are you proud of that you've done?
I'm proud of this show.
Yeah.
Because I know that, it's helping a lot of people. I'm proud of my marriage because it used to be in tatters and now work through things. So yeah, I'm proud of quite a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, I'm having trouble thinking about everything now, but.
Well, no, it's great that you have two things that you can bring to mind so quickly. I think most people, it's almost a really difficult question. And I find, and if anyone's thinking about this now, what have I got to be proud of? Yeah. Best way to answer that question is go and ask somebody who knows you well and go and say to them, what do you think I should be proud of?
There you go, some homework for you viewers. You can go and do that, right? So
go ask people what you could be proud of.
Yeah.
And I'd be very surprised if you can't find somebody who's got some really great stuff for you.
Definitely. Ian, thank you so much. We've run out of time, unfortunately.
Thank you.
So we're really looking forward to your book on when was it again?
On the 3rd of January.
The 3rd of January. And all the details of Ian's book will be up on the Chrissy B website, chrissybshow.tv. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And all the best for the new year.
Yeah, and happy new year to you.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay then, so after the break, we also have personal organiser and declutterer Helen Stanson, who's going to be joining us with some really good advice. So join us after this. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show. Well, it's still New Year's Eve and you're still watching this program, which means you're probably not going out. So maybe now's a good time to start decluttering. And my next guest is here to help us with that. We have Helen Sanderson here with us. Hello, Helen.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So you are tell us what you do. You're a professional declutterer.
I'm a professional declutterer and personal organiser and also an interior designer.
I didn't know you could get professional declutterers. It's the first time I heard of it.
No, it's really popular now, especially in the States, but now here it's really popular.
Yeah. So people in the UK, they do tend to hoard a lot of things, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you know why? Do you know why people tend to do that?
There's slight residue from World War I and II. You know, people used to collect things, and it was really resourceful to have, you know, lots of things. So I think we learned from our parents not to throw things away.
Why is it not good though to keep so many things? Apart from sort of the obvious about sort of having your house packed with stuff, but how does it affect a person as well, having lots of things around them?
I mean, I work with people that tell me that they've got lots of stuff and they haven't, and you know, it's a scale really. Yeah. But it's not. I think we carry it around in our mind. So even though you're not in the house, you're kind of thinking about it all the time. And quite often people say, oh, I really need to tidy up, or I really need to declutter, or I really need to throw some things away. And they say that to themselves over and over and over again, and they never actually do it.
Don't do it.
So the mind is just full of this constant conversation that just doesn't, you know, resolve. So it kind of drains your energy, and it makes you feel bad about yourself, and you don't. Then people don't invite their friends around, so they tend to isolate quite a lot.
It's one thing after the other, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I know for myself, I don't know about you guys at home, I cannot concentrate on work or anything if there's mess around me. I have to stop what I'm doing and I have to tidy up first. And when everything's tidy, then I can actually concentrate on what I'm doing, because I can't seem to function if there's things out of place.
It's true, and there's, you know, whenever you had an essay to write, you'd always do the cleaning, right? Yeah. But it wasn't just procrastination. It's because when you tidy up and you create order, your mind is much more available to help and be used.
So what happens? So people actually contact you, then you go around to their house, and then how does it work?
Go around
when
to
you
their
help
house,
people?
we have a chat. You know, I'd like to get to know people a little bit about, you know, sometimes people have been ill, they've been poorly, they've had an illness or a bereavement or some reason like that. So, you know, there are many reasons why people might have a lot of stuff, and it's good to get to know each other. But after that, after we've had a meeting, we get on and we just do it. You know, it's very hands-on, it's very practical. Yeah. And I think it's that thing of when you've got someone there beside you, you know, like having a personal trainer, you're going to do your sit-ups.
Motivates you, doesn't it? Because it's hard, it's daunting sometimes, a daunting task to do on your own, but when you've got someone there to motivate you, it gets a lot easier.
And someone there to guide you, someone there to tell you, you know, you don't need to do 60 sit-ups, you can just start with 5, you know.
Okay, just start with this box.
Exactly. So, and that's what we do, you know, we kind of guide a process. It's a bit like taking someone on a walk through a dark wood or something, or, you know, so.
All right, so you brought along a diagram for us, first of all, to explain a few things. Let's take a look at this, first of all. So what's this about?
So this is really, because I've worked with quite a few people now, and I've noticed that the first stage that people have is that they feel very kind of depressed and dread, and they, you know, they feel ashamed and embarrassed. And then something might motivate them. It might be watching this show, it might be a friend.
Hopefully.
It might be a friend or something, and so they'll suddenly get motivated, and they might contact me or another declutterer or get a friend to help them, and then they get excited, and you know, excitement and motivation.
So we're here, right?
We're here then, right, excitement.
Okay.
And then enthusiasm kicks in, and then there's a sense of relief, like finally I'm dealing with it, finally I'm doing something, and you know. And that tends to build on itself, and then, you know, it's the same with going to the gym. You get really enthusiastic when you go, and then you get to this point where it's sort of around here where it starts getting hard, you know, and the burn, and it gets boring, or it might be, you know, if you've got a lot of stuff, it takes quite a while. Yeah. So it might be taking quite a while, and then you might start getting bored, and then you might get ill, or your family might get ill, or, you know, something happens, and that's when, you know, I notice that people start giving up.
So how do you break past that bit then?
I usually start hassling people and saying,
that's good,
keep on with it. And that's the benefit of having me there, you know, it's because I've really got this in mind for you. And sometimes when someone's in a dark wood and they can't see where they're going, they need someone to be guiding them through. And I know that when you get to here, you're really nearly there.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I always say to people, be aware of that, because there will be a point where you suddenly go, you know, especially when you're actually getting the clutter out and you're doing the decluttering. It's really messy. You have to create chaos before you create order, ironically.
It's true. Sometimes when you start tidying up, it's like, oh my God, everything's everywhere now. But then you just got to
But I never
going.
leave people in a worse state than they are, you know, so I'll always kind of like leave people.
Okay.
And then, so with determination and persistence comes completion, and that's really key. You know, the whole thing about completing something. So often people that have clutter, they don't complete. They often pass one thing around to the desk or the next paper around, you know, and around, and it never actually goes anywhere, or it never goes in a file, or it never goes to a specific place. So
now you've brought a few things here for us as well, haven't you, to give a bit of a demonstration about decluttering. Can you talk us through some of it?
Well, it's really just that I really recommend having transparent things, because you can see what's in it. You know, when you've got a cardboard box, it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. So, and then when you're decluttering, you know, it's about ordering things. So putting all the things grouping things together. So all the kitchen things, all the bathroom things, you know, all the things together. But you don't need four of everything, which often happens. And the reason that happens is because people can't find them. And then they think, I've lost it, and then they go and buy another one. And then in the decluttering process, if I had £100 for every time someone said, oh, that's where that is, you know, because they always do, you know, because underneath all the stuff are the things that they've lost. So it's really about letting go, and, you know, people find that difficult to let go, and I think that's where the support is, you know, having someone there to say, come on, you really don't need 4 of these. So
there's one for you.
Exactly. And then grouping things, so that's all bike things, that's tools, and that's all bulbs. So, you know, grouping things is really, really important.
I did that recently with my makeup, actually. I had all my makeup in one big box. So recently I just bought these little drawers. So now I've got all my, like, for example, mascaras in one, and then all my eyeshadows. It makes it so much easier, and it's much faster to find things. I just open the drawer and everything's there.
And with the wardrobe, sometimes people say, you know, put your winter things away, or your summer things, or group them with all the shirts and the trousers together, or colours together, whatever really makes sense. You know, I found sometimes people are really more ordered than they think they are. You know, they love the process, and they get really into I thought
it was just me. I get so excited about organising. I got so excited about buying those little drawers. It's so sad.
But even people with clutter, once they've got some guidance, and then they start, you know, I had one girl that put loads of labels on all her, she bought loads of boxes and put labels on them, and she just loved it. So
I hope you're still watching. You haven't gone off to start labelling and decluttering. You need to watch to the end of the show, okay? Okay, how about these here?
So these are, you know, one of the major things that people have struggle with is paper. And paper, decluttering paper is usually another job in itself. And I never start with that. So again, it's transparent things, and, you know, get yourself some labels, and top right hand corner. And so this is car, obviously. Web receipts. So we're all buying from the web nowadays, and you know, what do you do with those pieces of paper? And I just shove them in there, and you know, after about a year, you don't need them anymore, so you can just sort of throw them out. But it's easier if you've got something already set up like this. And so we would go through a system of first weeding and decluttering and throwing out a lot of paper that's not needed, and then setting up a system where there's a sense of order. If you're self-employed, keep your receipts all in one place, everybody. So these are really great. I love these. Are really handy. Passports, personal documents, manuals for your kitchen sink or your fridge or something like that. So, you know, always use transparent things is what I recommend.
Definitely. And you've also brought along some pictures for us as well that we're going to show, some before and after photos, right? So let's take a look at those. Wow. Okay. Now, whose office is this? It's not yours, is it?
No,
it can't be yours.
It's not my office, but it is. I mean, this is an example of where people store things in cardboard boxes, which is why I would say put them in these so that you know instantly what's in them, and label them. But this was someone that I worked with. It was probably 20, 30 years of work. in a home office, and it just piled up.
Is
and
it
piled
is it
up.
the same office?
Yeah.
Or is it? Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
And
How can they work?
I know.
I couldn't.
I know, and I think that he'd got into a state where he was just working in literally this much desk, and all the rest was just around.
Yeah.
And what was, I mean, this took a week, every day.
Really?
Because we went through every single piece of paper.
Gosh, and how did he feel afterwards? Do we have the after pictures there to show? You must get so excited when you walk into a
look at that.
Wow, look at that. Oh my God, that's amazing. Where's all the stuff? Did you throw a lot of stuff away, or did you just kind of like...
recycled.
Yeah.
All recycled, yeah. I mean, that's amazing. That's great, isn't it? You know,
it was so spacious afterwards.
He was really, really happy.
I can imagine.
Really, really happy. You know, felt like a new person. And his partner was actually on holiday, and she came back and said, I can't believe the house. It just feels completely different. And that was just one room.
Did you ever go back and check on how he's doing?
Did.
Like, how was he after that? Did he kind of get back into it?
There was a few things, but you know, there's a few rules that I give people, like nothing on the floor.
Yeah.
Nothing. No, don't leave things. Don't store things on the floor. And you know, he had in trays for particular things. You know, and I try and work with people's personality styles. You know, some people don't like filing every day, so I don't set them up a system that they're going to fail on. Yeah. You know, so.
So you've done interior design as well, haven't you? So you also brought some pictures for us to have a look at as well. Just take a look at those.
So yeah, I mean, I design quiet rooms and prayer rooms and meditation rooms and sacred spaces, and so that's kind of what we're hoping to get to when we've
really
decluttered.
I'm getting tired
exactly. So getting someone into if you haven't got room for a meditation room in your home, you can make your bathroom really beautiful. Yeah. And you can make your bathroom your sacred space, and that's what we did there.
Wow. These are really nice.
And it's really, you know, about bringing in plants and a little bit of gentle colour and you know, making it peaceful, because I think our minds are so bombarded by, you know, all the media that we have to confront with today, that having a little sacred space or a little bit of a calm at home is really really valuable.
I did actually something really nice that I didn't watch any TV or radio or read newspapers or anything for for about 3 weeks, just to kind of just get away from everything, and I've got that time to sort of meditate and think, and you know, it's so nice to do that sometimes, but it helps to have like a nice space to do it in as well. But tell us about like the emotional process as well, because obviously people feel a lot better once they have decluttered. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I mean, recently I threw about 10 things out of my wardrobe, and I was skipping down the road. I mean, I'm so glad you're like this as well, because I'm like. But I think I really think it's because we carry all our stuff is carried in our mind and in our sort of in our aura, if you like, you know. And when you release it, you just have more energy, and it's just such an enjoyable job. Because actually, you know, people suddenly they look like they've got a new lease of life, and you know. It's like if you've got a garden, you don't want loads of weeds around. You want to nurture the beautiful things that you have. So, you know, when you clear the garden, the beautiful things can grow. And I think that's the same in your home. So you know what, I've got one of our producers, not Joanna, the other producer, she's quite cluttered, and she's actually asked me to go around to her house and help her out. So maybe I could take you with us one day, just have a look, because I'm sure she'll be sort of more, she gets kind of stressed sometimes, and I said to her, I'm sure if you organise, you know, your house and stuff like that, you'll be a lot sort of clear-minded and everything. So she's actually agreed to let me go around there and help her out. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much for the advice. I think it's great what you do. Yeah. And I can see you love your job as well. I love it. Thanks so much. Great. And the details will be up on the Chrissy B website, chrissybshow.tv. So do have a lovely new year as well. Thank you, and everybody else.
Thank you. Okay, and after the break, we're going to be joined by Chris Brown with some more development tips, and I'll also be answering a query from a viewer on the What Would Chrissy Do section. See you after this. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show. Now, before we let's say hello to Chris Brown first. Hello, Chris Brown.
Hi, Chrissy.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
New Year's Eve, looking forward to the new year?
Am I looking forward to New Year's? Oh, I'm so excited. I just can't wait.
Before you go into your points, we're actually going to read out an email from a viewer first of all. Maybe you can give your input as well.
Okay.
So as you know, this is the part of the show called What Would Chrissy Do? And this is your chance to email me And, you know, it's like you're asking basically a friend what they would do in your situation. So if you want, you can actually, instead of sending an email, you can even record a video of yourself and email it to me. Or you can even upload the link to YouTube and you can send me the link and we can feature on the show, you know, maybe talking about what your dilemma is. So if you want to do that, you can email me on chris@chrissybshow.tv. But this one's by email. And this young lady says, I really want to declutter my flat, but unfortunately my flatmate doesn't share the same view. We share a kitchen and living room. I don't see the point of decluttering if everything else around me is a mess. What would Chrissy do? I would probably move out actually. But before you get to that stage, what I would try to do before giving up and moving out, the first thing I would try to do is speak to my flatmate about how much it's affecting me, you know, especially, you know, knowing me, not liking mess around and stuff like that. I would actually be very honest and speak to him or her first of all. Now, if that doesn't work, I would probably try as well maybe to declutter the place myself, because maybe your flatmate actually can't face the thought of even going there, because, you know, some people get quite kind of fidgety and they can't even start things like this. So maybe you could do something nice for them and declutter the house yourself. Obviously, don't throw anything away that's theirs. Maybe put it in some piles, organize it for them, and it could be a nice surprise. And maybe that will actually start them off, you know, on a new foot, and they will you know, continue with that. And you know, if that doesn't help and they're still sort of very disorganized and everything, at the end of the day, you have your own bedroom. It says you just share a living room and a kitchen. You have your own bedroom, you have your own bathroom, so that could maybe be like your area where you retreat and, you know, have your me time and you can relax and everything like that. But honestly, if you've tried everything and it really bothers you that much, maybe it is time for you to think of moving on, or you know, I would do that probably if I were in your shoes, but I would try everything else first before you got to that stage, because it's nice to try and resolve things with people rather than just sort of walking away, because then you might have sort of ill feelings against the person. So do try everything first of all. Anything you'd like to add, Chris? What would you do in that situation?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Well, I'd get some masking tape. I'd put it right across the room. That's your side and that's mine. No, seriously. I think it's something, as you said, much to sit down and talk about it and find out what, because sometimes we hold on to things that we don't really need, and just to sit and have some dialogue and communicate with each other in why. Actually, because they're two different people.
I think, it's a switch too. We have to understand other people, but they can't always, you know, either your flatmate was not going to be exactly the same as you at the end of the day. So there has to be a bit of give and take. So you might have to kind of put up with a little bit of mess here and there. But if it's bothering you that much, as it probably would bother me, then I think you need to move out. Okay, but try first of all. So Chris, you've got some points that you'd like to talk to us. So, you know, we're starting the new year tomorrow.
We're starting the new year tonight.
Yeah, in a couple of hours.
And a lot of things in New Year we start off, and it's like turning a page, and your life's going to start again, and you can get rid of all the old stuff and say, that's it, right? But sometimes we do that. And come January, we say, right, I'm going to make a resolution. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the other. How long do we stay into that? 2 weeks on? 3 weeks on, and then we start thinking, oh, it's all gone back to the way it was before. So we need to know how to actually, let's say, stick with those goals, those resolutions at the end of the day. And I'm sure we've all done it many a times, you know, because when you think about it, your resolutions is because you wanted to change. You actually wanted to say, look, I want a new me. I want a new start. I'm going to start something. But we break them all the time.
Do you think it's because sometimes people don't actually know what they really do want?
I think it's very much a case of people not knowing exactly what they want. I think it's a case of what you should be doing is defining what you want. And when I say define what you want, be very clear about why you're doing it. When we say why we're doing it, because we've got a situation, let's say you knew that you had to stop eating the way you eat and you've got to start eating healthy, or you've got to cut out all the sugars. The other purpose behind it, well, if I don't, what will happen? All right, could be something, an illness, could be diabetes, could be something else. That's going to give you a reason to say, well, look, I need to actually stick on track. Or it might be a situation of the family. You don't spend enough time with your children. You don't spend enough time with your husband, your wife. So you've got to know a reason. Well, what would happen if I didn't do that? What is the worst scenario? So you've got a reason to stick with it and have a purpose to carry on your goal. And make your goals a bit shorter, your resolutions. You know, sometimes we make these vast,
Crazy.
big resolutions and you expect it to change in a day and then
Not
you
that
get
you can't
disappointed.
achieve that, but obviously it's one step at a time.
That's
isn't
it, exactly.
And that's another thing, because sometimes people do, like, they try and do sort of everything at once. So they might have many different goals, and they just try and do everything. And when they kind of find that they're not focusing on one thing at a time, they tend to just mess everything up.
And that's the
and
key
then get
behind it.
demotivated and then not.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very much the key behind it. You've got to be able to focus on one thing. Now, if you're going to, let's say you've got 4 areas that you want to change, and you put, let's say, 25% there, 25% there, 25% there, 25% there, you're not really going to achieve any of them. You're only doing just a bit. Now, think about it. With the 125%, if you put the 75 in one, and you focused on that, you'll achieve that. And then you can move on to the next one and put 100% in that. And as you go through, go on to the next one. Otherwise, we end up thinking, well, I'm meant to do all this and it never really happened. And it's funny because I could actually talk from that perspective myself in realising very much that I'm always here, there and everywhere at the same time. You know, and that's the way it goes.
You're
Life is
busy
really
now,
busy,
aren't you?
yes. So what I do is just focus on the one, clear it out, get on with it,
Yeah.
and you get a better result, a lot better result.
How do you actually keep going and not give up?
How do you keep going and not
Yeah.
give up? Right. What you've got to do is, one, the other thing is we tend to procrastinate. We tend to procrastinate a lot. So you've got to be very clear about that. Now, to keep going, if you set a goal, you've got to set a medium goal, right? And then you've got the long term, or shall I put it now, medium, long term, right? Let's say my goal was, let's say in about 6 months' time or so, I want to hit this target. So I'd start off with something like little bits that I'll do every 2 weeks, So if I calculated and look back at where I started in about a month's time, 4 weeks on, I would realise how much I've actually improved. So let's go another month, another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks. Now think about it, 2 weeks already, that's like what? Another 2 weeks on top of that, that's a month out of the year. You know, so you're already there to achieving what you need to achieve. And it's an exciting journey. That's the thing about it. It gets really exciting when you do it that way.
And what about being obviously accountable to someone as well? What would you say about that? Because
That's
sometimes I think if a person's not really doing it for themselves, they tend to fail. Because I know, for example, ladies, let's talk about losing weight.
Right, okay.
If you are doing it for someone else, normally you're not going to stick. So maybe like, I don't know, your boyfriend said, oh, you're getting a bit chubby around, you know, in some areas. And so you kind of feel, oh, I'm going to go on a diet because, you know, I want to be attractive to my boyfriend. But the thing is, if you do it just for them, you're not likely to stick to it because it's not in you to do it, but you have to kind of do it for yourself first. And I know it's very obvious, but sometimes people don't realise the importance of that you have to do it for yourself first, and you have to be accountable to yourself. So, because say, for example, you're on a diet and then you lose a bit and then your boyfriend comes and says, oh, you haven't lost much, have you? Immediately that's going to kind of like
knock you back
and you think, oh, what's the point? I'm not going to do it. But if you're doing it for yourself, I know it's such a silly example, but if you're doing it for yourself, you will actually, so it doesn't matter what he says to me because I'm not doing it for him. Okay, yeah, you want to make him happy or whatever, but I'm doing it for myself first.
Yes,
so that's what's going to keep you.
It will keep you going, but also the word of being accountable, very much what you said, you're not doing it for that person, you're doing it for you. But if you're going to set a goal, it's good to make yourself accountable to somebody you trust. Somebody you trust who's in your corner championing you. Because if you set this goal and then you said to this person, look, this person I trust, look, I decided I'm going to lose weight and do this, that and the other. And you know it's not somebody who's going to say, oh, you haven't done it yet, have you? That sort of thing, or really put you down.
Yeah.
You don't need that. But you need someone who will probably say something at some point or another, how's that goal getting on? Right?
Because if you don't say anything to anyone, you can give up any time. And
there
not
you
like,
go.
Oh, okay,
so you're accountable to somebody else in saying
yeah.
that at the same time. But I wouldn't say be accountable to everybody. Pick someone you actually trust. Because if you go and say your goal to everybody, not everybody's championing what you're doing. And sometimes it becomes a bit of a mockery. So someone you trust, tell them what your goal is. So every time you see them, it will remind you that you have to do it. It's going into partnership at one point or another.
That's a very good idea, actually.
Yeah, it helps. It helps quite a bit. Go into partnership. That's what I say. Because one thing is, doing it on your own can be very hard. Doing it on your own can be very hard. Not unless you're very strong-minded and you know. So I like chocolate and there's chocolate there. And every time I keep going for these chocolates while I talk to you all the time. And you said to me, Chris, don't you think that's a bit Would I take it personal and crumble? No, I wouldn't, because we're accountable in that sense. And I think, well, maybe I need to lay off it. Or would I just grab the whole box and run off? That'll be another one, right? But yeah, be accountable in that sense.
So what are your other top tips then to share with our viewers? Because we've got a few minutes left. So say the people that are watching now, like I said, maybe if they are not out and about, they're not celebrating anywhere, they're here watching the show, maybe it's because they don't feel great about themselves and they think don't really have much, or they think they don't have much to look forward to in the new year. What would you say to them?
Right, I'd say one, really forget how it was the year before. Completely forget it, because sometimes we view ourselves by a lot of, let's say, the negatives that have happened, and we got a sort of cycle in the head that goes round, so rotating back. It's meant to go forward, sometimes it goes backward. Last year this happened in a relationship, I'm not getting into a relationship again. Oh, last time I didn't earn this amount, so I don't think that's going to happen. Get rid of that. Cut that. Get the reel going forward and start advancing your mind, and like a video, and seeing how you are and what would happen if you do this, and stop thinking about what happens back in the past. Yeah? Get a picture. I say, well, sometimes I work with groups with vision boards, and this vision board, you'd put it up and you'd put things on there, images about what you want, what you like. It might be in your job role, it might be in your relationship, it might be in marriage, it might be in the car, it might be in how your family is, and get images and put them up. And as you see them, they actually make images in the back of your mind, and you keep having this drive that will go towards that all the time. And sooner or later, you'll come back and say on Chrissy B show, guess what? I hit my goal. Right?
So when people put their picture up of, I don't know, their ideal body on the front of a fridge. I don't think that will stop me. Actually, I think I still go in there, but maybe it made me think twice.
It'll make you think about it.
It's true that the imagery is very important. Isn't it?
Vision board is a very good thing to work with. That, let's say, keeps you going.
Okay. So any final tips before we leave, Chris?
Final tips.
Let people get on with celebrating the New Year.
And let them go on and celebrate. Okay. Don't drink too much. Right. Okay. You'll regret it after. Right. Okay. For the new year, as I was saying before, we're talking about, well, you need to actually have a clear cut about what you want, right? The way you think actually projects on the outside as well. So your attitude, as we always say in development, is going to determine your altitude. So think about it. Poor thinking, poor mind, poor attitude, poor environment around you. You're attracting that as well. Positive mind, getting on with it, taking chances, a risk, positive environment around you. You actually create a lot of the things that happen around you. That's not a blame factor. That's taking control of your mindset and the way you viewed things. And that actually goes for those who you keep around you as well, in the same way, Are they encouraging you, or are they putting you off in that sense? So positive mindset, that's what I say. Go for it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful New Year.
And you as well. Have a great one.
Thank you very much. And actually, just before we go, I just wanted to say, you could probably say something as well, but I think, you can set yourself goals, you can declutter your house, for example, and be very, very organised. But what's the point if you don't also declutter what I think is most important, that's your heart and your mind? So, for example, if you have unresolved issues with people that are, causing you to even hold grudges and feel badly inside, why don't you try resolving them, and seeing how different you're going to feel. Don't go into the new year with your heart heavy and feeling bad about things. If there's maybe stuff that you've done that you've regretted, for example, why don't you go and apologise to people and, just say sorry and that you're going to try and change? Because sometimes these issues that we have inside, they can make us feel really heavy and even zap our energy as well. Sometimes it's not the fact that you don't have goals, but it's just that you feel so bad inside that you don't have any energy to do anything.
You've got to get rid of all the grudges and all those sort of things that you had from before as well. It's like we always say, it's like you've got a grudge against somebody. It's like you drinking poison, expecting something to happen to them. You've got to actually get rid of this. Get rid of it, start again. Yeah, it is, because who's going to prosper at it? No one. You'll both lose at the end of the day. Yeah. You've got to remember, at the end of the day, you're worth it. Right? We know the big advert which says you're worth it, right? Okay, so you've got to remember you are worth it. It's about you. You're valuable. Start to value yourself.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, guys, so we have reached the end of the programme. But like I said, if you are feeling a bit bad about yourself or there's something that's going on, you can email me. I would love to correspond with you. You can email me on chris@chrissybshow.tv. We'll correspond. We can have a chat, and hopefully I'll be able to point you in the right direction to having a happy new year. So do have a great one, and we'll see you again on the next show of Chrissy B. Bye-bye for now.